The diplomatic hall erupted into chaos as Gorith slammed his fist against the negotiation table. The thick metal surface cracked under the impact, sending data pads skittering across the floor. Around the room, representatives from 12 different species pressed themselves against the walls, their various forms of fear identical despite their different biologies. Gunnery Sergeant David Torres remained exactly where he had been standing for the past 20 minutes. His hands stayed relaxed at his sides. His breathing never changed. And that smile, the one that seemed to infuriate the 8-foot Kravic warrior even more with each passing second, never left his face. "You dare mock me?" Gorith's voice rumbled through the chamber, his translator struggling to convey the depth of his rage. "I am Commander Gorith of the Kravic Imperial Fleet. I have conquered 17 worlds. I have never been defeated in personal combat. And you, human, you stand there grinning like a fool." Ambassador Patricia Green stepped forward, her diplomatic training fighting against her survival instincts. "Commander Gorith, please. This is a misunderstanding. The trade delegation never intended to insult your people. We simply need more time to review the terms." Silence. Gorith turned his massive head toward her, and Green froze. 47 species in this galaxy understand their place. They know to bow before superior strength. But you humans, fresh from your little planet, you think you can negotiate as equals. Torres shifted his weight slightly, drawing Gorith's attention back to him. The movement was casual, almost lazy, but something about it made several of the alien observers flinch. They had seen predators move like that before, back on their homeworlds, back when their ancestors still faced natural dangers. "Commander," Torres said, his voice calm and steady. "With respect, have you ever actually studied Earth history?" The question caught Gorith off guard. His 4 eyes narrowed, trying to determine if this was another insult. Why would I waste time learning about a species so new to the stars? Just curious. Torres's smile widened a fraction. "Because if you had, you might understand why I'm not particularly worried right now." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Around them, the alien diplomats exchanged glances. The Kravic had been the dominant military force in this sector for 3 centuries. They had crushed rebellions, absorbed resistant species, and built an empire on the simple principle that might determine right. No one challenged them. No one survived challenging them. Gorith moved with surprising speed for something his size, closing the distance between himself and Torres in 2 massive strides. He leaned down, bringing his scarred face inches from the humans. His breath, hot and smelling of something metallic, washed over Torres. "I will make this simple for your primitive mind," Gorith growled. "You have one choice. Kneel now and acknowledge Kravic superiority. Convince your delegation to accept our terms without alteration. Do this, and I will allow your species to exist as vassals. Refuse, and I will personally bring our armada to your Earth. We will show you what happens to those who disrespect the Kravic Empire." Torres didn't blink, didn't step back, didn't stop smiling. "That's your final warning?" he asked. "That is my final warning, human." "Okay." Torres nodded slowly, as if considering a particularly interesting proposition. "How about this instead? You and me. The station has a combat arena, right? Traditional challenge. Warrior to warrior. If you win, we accept your terms. If I win, you leave the humans alone and we negotiate as equals." The room went absolutely silent. Even the ambient hum of the station's life support systems seemed to fade into nothing. Green's face went pale. The other diplomats looked at Torres as if he had just volunteered to jump out an airlock. Gorith straightened up, genuine confusion replacing his anger for a moment. "You challenge me? You, a single human, challenge a Kravic battle commander? That's what I said. You are either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid." Torres's smile never wavered. "Back home, we've got a saying. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. You ever been punched in the mouth, Commander?" Gorith's confusion gave way to something that might have been amusement. Or perhaps it was the anticipation a predator feels when prey does something unexpected. "I accept your challenge, human. Tomorrow, in the arena, I will enjoy teaching your species humility. Tomorrow works for me. Torres agreed. As Gorith turned and strode from the chamber, his honor guard falling in behind him, the tension began to drain from the room. The alien diplomats immediately started talking among themselves, their voices a mixture of shock and morbid fascination. Green rushed over to Torres. Are you out of your mind? Do you have any idea what you just did? My job, ma'am, Torres replied, finally letting his smile fade. These Kravik types, they only respect strength. Diplomacy wasn't going to work. They needed to see that humans don't bow to threats. They're going to kill you. Gorith has fought in hundreds of battles. He's never lost a personal challenge. Torres shrugged. Then I guess I'll be his first loss. This isn't a joke, Sergeant. No, ma'am, it's not. Torres's expression became serious. But neither is letting some alien warlord think he can threaten Earth and expect us to roll over. Win or lose tomorrow, we send a message. Humans don't scare easy. Green wanted to argue, wanted to order him to stand down, but she recognized the look in his eyes. She had seen it before in career military personnel, that absolute certainty that some things were worth fighting for regardless of the odds. At least let me try to cancel this, she said quietly. You can try, ma'am, but I'm showing up either way. As Torres walked out of the diplomatic hall, he passed a window looking out into space. Somewhere out there was Earth, the little blue planet that had forged humanity in fire and ice and endless competition. He thought about the mountains he had climbed, the deserts he had crossed, the jungles where he had learned that survival meant adapting faster than everything trying to kill you. Tomorrow, Gorith was going to learn something important about humans. They had spent millions of years becoming the dominant species on a planet that actively tried to murder them on a daily basis. One alien warrior with a superiority complex, that was just another Tuesday. Within 3 hours of the challenge, every data terminal on Station Harmony was accessing the same information. Species from across the galactic community suddenly wanted to know everything about Earth and its inhabitants. What they found made many of them wish they had remained ignorant. Dr. Yuki Tanaka found herself surrounded by a group of Peltharian scientists in the station's research wing. The Peltharians, small furry creatures that resembled bipedal cats, chittered nervously as they reviewed data on their portable screens. This cannot be accurate, one of them insisted, his whiskers twitching in agitation. No sapient species could evolve under these conditions. Yuki smiled patiently. She had been explaining basic Earth facts for the past hour, and each revelation seemed to disturb her audience more than the last. I assure you, the data is correct. Earth is classified as a Class 12 deathworld. Class 12. Another Peltharian's tail went rigid. The highest classification in the habitable range. Most species cannot survive anything beyond Class 4. Correct, Yuki confirmed. Earth has approximately twice the gravitational pull of most homeworlds in the Galactic Council. Our atmosphere pressure is significantly higher. Our weather patterns include phenomena capable of destroying entire cities. And our ecosystem. She paused, watching their reactions carefully. Our ecosystem evolved in constant competition. Predators hunting prey, prey developing defenses, everything fighting for survival every single day. A Velrani observer, a tall crystalline being that communicated through light pulses, flickered a question. What about the dominant predators on your world? Humans are the dominant predators, Yuki said simply. No. The Velrani's lights flashed in confusion. What predators did your species evolve alongside? What forced you to develop tool use and intelligence? Yuki pulled up a holographic display. Images of Earth's megafauna appeared in the air. Creatures with teeth as long as arms. Reptiles that could swallow a human whole. Mammals built like living tanks. All of these. And we hunted most of them to extinction before we even developed proper civilization. The room fell silent. You hunted these? A Peltharian whispered. We hunted everything. That is what humans do. We adapt. We learn. We overcome. Yuki changed the image to show various human activities. Rock climbing, deep sea diving, Arctic exploration. These are what we do for fun, gentlemen. For recreation. Meanwhile, In another section of the station, Gorith's second-in-command, Brack, was conducting his own research. Unlike his commander, Brack believed in studying enemies before fighting them. What he found made his warriors' confidence waver for the first time in his career. Commander, Brack approached Gorith in their quarters. I have reviewed the human biological data. There are factors you should consider before the challenge. Gorith barely looked up from sharpening his ceremonial blade. Factors? The human is half my size and possesses no natural weapons. What factors could possibly matter? Their chemistry, Commander. Humans produce a combat stimulant called adrenaline. When threatened, their bodies flood with this chemical. It increases their strength, suppresses pain, sharpens their reflexes. All species have stress responses. Not like this. Brack pulled up a medical file. Humans in adrenaline states have been documented performing impossible feats, lifting objects several times their body weight, fighting through injuries that should have incapacitated them, continuing combat even when mortally wounded. Gorith finally gave Brack his full attention. You sound afraid. I sound informed, Commander. There's also their history. Brack displayed a timeline of human warfare. They have been fighting constantly for their entire recorded history. Not just wars between nations, but personal combat, martial arts, training systems designed purely for killing efficiently. We Kravik have a proud warrior tradition spanning millennia. With respect, Commander, we fight for honor and dominance. Humans fight for survival. Their martial arts are not ceremonial. They are practical, brutal, designed to end threats as quickly as possible with minimum wasted motion. Gorith stood, his massive frame towering over Brack. Are you suggesting I withdraw from the challenge? I am suggesting caution, Commander. Caution is for prey animals. Gorith turned away. The challenge stands. I will show this human and his entire species what true warriors look like. Back in the human section of the station, Torres was running. Not in the station's gym, where other species exercised, but in a converted cargo bay he had modified for his needs. He had increased the gravity to Earth normal, which made most aliens physically ill just watching him. Ambassador Green found him 3 miles into his run, sweat soaking through his shirt, breathing steady and controlled. You know the whole station is talking about you, she said. Torres slowed to a walk, grabbed a water bottle. Let them talk. They are scared, Sergeant. Some of the species are placing bets. Most of them think you will be dead within 5 minutes of the match starting. And what do you think, ma'am? Green studied him for a long moment. I think you are either the bravest person I have ever met or the most foolish. Possibly both. But I also think you actually believe you can win. I do believe that. Why? What do you know that everyone else does not? Torres set down the water bottle and looked at her directly. I know what humans are capable of when everything is on the line. I have served in places where every day was about survival, where the heat could kill you, the cold could kill you, the terrain could kill you, and the enemy definitely wanted to kill you. I learned something in those places, ma'am. What did you learn? That being the biggest or the strongest does not matter as much as being the most willing to do whatever it takes to win. Gorith is a warrior. He fights with honor, with tradition, with ceremony. That is all very impressive. Torres smiled that same confident smile from earlier. But I am a Marine. I fight to win. There's a difference. Green wanted to argue, but something in his certainty stopped her. The Council is watching this very carefully. If you lose badly, it could affect Earth's standing in the galactic community. Then I better not lose badly. As Green left, Torres returned to his exercises. Around the station, the countdown to the challenge continued. Aliens gathered in viewing areas, discussing what they expected to see. Most predicted a brutal but quick fight. The Kravik were simply too powerful, too experienced. But in the research wing, Dr. Tanaka closed her presentation to the increasingly disturbed Peltharians with one final thought. Gentlemen, you asked about Earth and humans. Here is what you need to understand. We did not become the dominant species on our planet through strength or size. We became dominant because we never, ever give up. We are persistence hunters. We chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. We are endurance specialists. We can outlast almost anything. She smiled. Tomorrow, Commander Gorith is going to learn what it means to fight something that evolved on a planet where everything wants to kill you. He is going to learn what happens when a ceremonial warrior faces a practical survivor. And I suspect the lesson will be remembered for a very long time. The Peltharians looked at each other nervously. One of them spoke quietly. Perhaps we should place different bets. The arena had not seen this much activity in decades. Representatives from 43 different species packed the observation galleries, their various forms of anticipation filling the air with sounds, scents, and energy patterns unique to each race. Some came hoping to witness human courage. Most came expecting to see human stupidity receive its inevitable reward. Gorith entered through the northern gate, and the crowd's reaction was immediate. The Kravik warrior wore traditional ceremonial armor, plates of dark metal etched with symbols representing his 47 victories in personal combat. Energy weapons hung at his sides, humming with barely contained power. He raised his arms, accepting the acknowledgement of the crowd, every inch the conquering hero. Then Torres walked through the southern gate, and confused silence rippled through the observers. The human wore simple combat fatigues. No armor, no visible weapons except a small knife strapped to his belt. His hands were wrapped in basic cloth. He looked like someone who had wandered in from a training exercise rather than a formal challenge. This is an insult. Gorith's voice boomed across the arena. Where is your armor, human? Your weapons? Do you mock this sacred tradition? Torres rolled his shoulders, stretching casually. Where I come from, we do not need fancy equipment to prove we can fight. But if you wanted to grab some gear, I can wait while you catch your breath. The crowd murmured. Was the human joking? Making a final gesture of bravery before the inevitable? Or did he genuinely not understand the situation he had walked into? The arena master, a neutral Velrani judge, flickered his lights to signal attention. The rules are traditional Kravik challenge format. Combatants fight until one surrenders verbally or becomes physically incapable of continuing. Lethal force is permitted, but not required. Commander Gorith has chosen to allow energy weapons. Sergeant Torres, do you wish to claim weapons as well? I'm good, Torres replied. The crowd's murmuring increased. Even the most optimistic human supporters felt their confidence waver. This seemed less like confidence and more like suicide. Let it be recorded, the arena master announced that the human declined offered advantages. Combatants, take your positions. Gorith moved to his starting point, his massive frame settling into a traditional Kravik battle stance. 8 feet of muscle and armor and proven killing experience. He had fought in vacuum. He had fought in crushing gravity. He had fought opponents larger, faster, and more desperate than this small human could ever be. Torres simply stood relaxed, hands at his sides, that same slight smile playing across his face. Begin, the arena master signaled. Gorith did not charge immediately, as many expected. He was a warrior, not a fool. He circled, studying Torres's stance, looking for weaknesses. You have courage, human, I grant you that. But courage without skill is just a faster path to death. You talk a lot for someone who is supposed to be fighting, Torres observed, rotating to keep facing the Kravik. I honor my opponents with words before I honor them with battle. Yeah? Well, I got a question before we get started. Gorith paused. Speak. You ever fought something that was trying to eat you? The question was so unexpected that Gorith actually hesitated. What? Something that wanted to eat you. You know, kill you, and then consume your body for nutrition. You ever had to deal with that? I am a warrior, not prey. Torres's smile widened. That's a no, then. Just wanted to establish baseline experience. Gorith had heard enough. With speed that surprised many observers, he launched forward, closing the distance in 2 powerful strides. His right hand swept up, energy weapon activating, aiming to strike Torres' center mass with a blow designed to stun and incapacitate. But Torres was not where the weapon passed through. The human had moved forward into Gorith's attack, inside the arc of the swing. His hands were suddenly on Gorith's arm, redirecting momentum, using the Kravik's own force against him. It was basic physics the kind of technique humans had refined through thousands of years of smaller people fighting bigger opponents. Gorith stumbled, more from surprise than actual effect, and Torres was already moving away, resetting his position. Interesting, Gorith said, his respect for this opponent increasing slightly. You have some training after all. A bit, Torres agreed. This time Gorith came in more carefully, mixing strikes and energy bursts, testing the human's defenses. Torres gave ground, blocking, deflecting, occasionally landing quick strikes that looked pitiful against Kravik armor, but seemed to have some purpose. The crowd could not quite identify. 5 minutes passed. Then the crowd's mood shifted. Gorith should have ended this by now. The human was fast, yes, but he was so much smaller. One solid hit should have finished him. Yet somehow Torres kept slipping attacks, kept moving, kept staying just out of reach of the truly devastating blows. You run well for a warrior, Gorith called out, breathing slightly heavier now. Not running, Torres replied, his own breathing elevated but controlled. Learning. Learning what? How you move, how you think, how you telegraph your strikes about half a second before you actually commit to them. Gorith froze. No one had ever told him that. Was it true? He launched a combination attack, trying to prove the human wrong. Torres flowed around it like water, and this time his counter-strike landed on a joint in Gorith's armor. The impact was precise, targeting a weak point most people would not notice. The Kravik felt actual pain for the first time in the fight. You are studying me, Gorith said. It was not a question. That's what Marines do. We adapt. We learn. We overcome. Then let me teach you something about Kravik warriors. Gorith activated both energy weapons simultaneously and came in fast, using a pattern that had won him 20 of his 47 victories. It was overwhelming offense, designed to force opponents into defensive positions where they could be systematically broken down. Torres took 3 glancing blows that would have killed most species. The impact spun him, drew blood, made the crowd gasp. But the human did not go down, did not stop moving. And when Gorith committed fully to his finishing technique, Torres saw the opening. The human dropped low, swept Gorith's leading leg, while simultaneously striking the Kravik's other knee. It was not sophisticated. It was not ceremonial. It was practical application of leverage and anatomy. Gorith crashed to the arena floor. The crowd went absolutely silent. Torres could have pressed the advantage, could have attacked while Gorith was down. Instead, he stepped back, giving the warrior space to rise. Why? Gorith demanded, climbing to his feet. Why do you give me opportunity to recover? Torres's smile had vanished, replaced by something more serious. Because I'm not trying to humiliate you. I'm trying to show you something important. Show me what? The humans do not fight like you do. We do not fight for honor or glory or tradition. Torres's eyes were hard now, and Gorith suddenly understood why the human had been smiling earlier. It had not been confidence or mockery. It had been control. We fight to survive. And when you're trying to survive, you do not play by anyone's rules but reality. Gorith looked at the human with new eyes. This was not a warrior in the Kravik sense. This was something evolution had shaped specifically for killing and not dying in the process. Come, Torres said quietly. Let's finish this properly. As they reset their positions, Gorith realized he was breathing hard while the human looked merely warmed up. Endurance. The data Brack had shown him mentioned human endurance. This fight was far from over, but for the first time in 47 challenges, Gorith wondered if he might actually lose. 15 minutes had passed, and the impossible had become undeniable. Torres and Gorith were still fighting, and the human showed no signs of collapse. If anything, he seemed to be getting more efficient with each exchange that Gorith's ceremonial armor now bore multiple dents and cracks. His breathing came in heavy gasps that his translator could barely process. One of his energy weapons had been knocked from his hand through a technique so fast the cameras barely caught it. Yet he fought on, because surrender was not in his vocabulary. Torres moved differently now. The defensive tactics had given way to calculated aggression. Each strike had purpose. Each movement conserved energy. His face was bruised. Blood ran from a cut above his eye, and his ribs were probably cracked, but his eyes remained sharp and focused. "You are stronger than I expected," Gorith admitted, resetting his stance for what felt like the 100th time. "Stronger? No." Torres shook his head. "You are physically stronger. Probably 3 times stronger than me. Maybe more. Then how? Because strength is not everything. You know what humans had to deal with back on Earth? We had to fight animals that could run faster than us, climb better than us, bite harder than us. So we learned to think faster, adapt quicker, outlast longer." Gorith charged again, but this time Torres saw the desperation in it. The Kravik was beginning to realize what his second-in-command had tried to warn him about. Humans were endurance hunters. They did not win through immediate, overwhelming force. They won by simply refusing to quit until their opponent could not continue. The exchange was brutal. Gorith landed a solid hit that sent Torres sprawling across the arena floor. The crowd made various sounds of distress and satisfaction. Surely that was it. The human had fought well, better than anyone expected, but physics could not be denied forever. Torres rolled to his feet. Slower than before, clearly hurt, but rising nonetheless. "Why do you continue?" Gorith demanded. "You must know you cannot win." Torres wiped blood from his mouth and smiled again. But this time the expression carried no warmth. "Cannot win?" "Gorith, I have not even shown you what a human looks like when we stop being polite." Something in that statement made Gorith pause. The human had been holding back? That made no tactical sense. Why would anyone restrain themselves in a fight like this? "What do you mean?" Gorith asked. Torres moved then, and it was like watching a different person take over his body. Every movement became faster, harder, more vicious. The techniques he had been using were refined martial arts, focused on control and efficiency. What he used now was something rawer, more primal. This was a human who had decided the time for measuring was over. Torres got inside Gorith's guard again, but this time he did not try to redirect or deflect. He attacked joints, pressure points, vulnerable spots in the armor that he had spent the first 15 minutes identifying. Each strike was meant to disable, to hurt, to break down his opponent piece by piece. Gorith tried to counter, but his body was not responding like it should. He was tired. His homeworld had lighter gravity than this arena, and the sustained combat in Earth-normal conditions was taking its toll. Meanwhile, Torres had spent his entire life in this gravity, had trained in worse, had fought in environments that made this climate-controlled arena seem comfortable. The Kravik warrior attempted his legendary finishing move, a technique passed down through generations of champions. It involved a specific series of strikes and energy bursts designed to overwhelm any opponent's defenses. It had never failed. Torres countered it with a knee strike to Gorith's midsection, followed by an elbow to the side of the head, finished with a joint lock that used Gorith's own momentum to slam him face first into the arena floor. The entire sequence took less than 3 seconds. It was not elegant. It was not ceremonial. It was brutally effective close-quarters combat refined by human military forces over centuries of warfare. Gorith tried to rise, but his legs would not support him properly. His vision swam. His translator kept cutting in and out. He managed to get to one knee. Torres stood over him, breathing hard but standing firm. The crowd held its collective breath, waiting to see if the human would deliver a finishing blow, if Gorith would surrender, if this impossible moment would continue to unfold. "You fought well," Torres said quietly, and this time his voice carried genuine respect. "Better than most I've faced. You are strong, skilled, experienced, but you made one mistake." "What mistake?" Gorith forced the words out. "You assumed this was about being the best warrior." Torres extended his hand. "It's not. It's about being the last one standing. And humans are very, very good at being the last one standing." Gorith looked at the offered hand, confused. "You would owe me up? After what I threatened? After I vowed to bring my armada to Earth?" "Yeah, I would." "You know why? Tell me." "Because I'm not trying to humiliate you or destroy you. I'm trying to teach you the same lesson you were trying to teach me. That there are different kinds of strength in this galaxy." Torres kept his hand extended. "You Kravik value physical power and combat dominance. That is your culture. But humans value something else. We value the ability to take punishment and keep going, to face impossible odds and refuse to quit, to hit the ground and get back up. Gorith stared at the hand. In Kravic culture, accepting help from an opponent was a sign of weakness. But in human culture, based on what this warrior was saying, it was something else entirely. "If I take your hand," Gorith said slowly, "what does it mean?" "It means we stop being enemies and start being two warriors who respect each other. It means I acknowledge your strength and you acknowledge mine. It means we both won something today, even if only one of us is still standing." The crowd watched, transfixed. This was not how challenges ended in the Kravic tradition. Challenges ended with dominance established, hierarchy confirmed, the loser broken and submissive. But Torres was offering something different, something the galaxy had not seen before. Gorith made his decision. He reached up and took the human's hand. Torres pulled him to his feet, and the crowd erupted into chaos. Some species cheered. Others protested. The Kravic delegation looked uncertain, unsure how to process what they had just witnessed. Gorith stood, swaying slightly, and looked down at Torres. "You said you have not shown me what a human looks like when they stop being polite. What was that?" Torres's smile returned, tired but genuine. "That was me still being polite, still following the rules, still giving you the honor fight you wanted." He paused. "You really want to see what humans are like when there are no rules? When survival is the only thing that matters? Trust me, Commander, you do not want to fight that war." Gorith understood. The human had been fighting with restraint, following challenge protocols, giving opportunities for honor and dignity. In a real war, humans would not do any of those things. "I concede this challenge," Gorith announced, his voice echoing through the arena. "The human has proven his point. Earth will negotiate as equals." As the crowd exploded into noise and the officials rushed forward, Torres allowed himself to feel the pain from his injuries. He had 3 broken ribs, a fractured wrist, multiple contusions, and would probably need a week in medical care. But Earth was safe. Humanity had sent its message. And Gorith, despite his defeat, found himself thinking that perhaps these humans were warriors worth knowing after all. The medical bay buzzed with activity as doctors from 3 different species worked to treat both combatants. Gorith lay on a reinforced bed designed for large species, his armor removed, revealing the extensive damage Torres had inflicted. Cracked ribs, joint trauma, muscle strain. Nothing permanently damaging, but enough to keep him immobile for days. 2 beds over. Torres sat upright despite the medical staff's protests. A Peltharian doctor was trying to convince him to lie down, while scanning equipment indicated 3 broken ribs, a fractured wrist, and various internal bruising that should have left him unconscious. "Your pain tolerance is abnormal," the doctor chittered nervously. "These injuries should be incapacitating." Torres shrugged, then winced. "Pain is just your body's way of telling you something is wrong. I already know something is wrong. Lying down is not going to make my ribs less broken. But you need rest, healing, time. I need to make sure I can still move if I need to." Torres carefully rotated his shoulders, testing his range of motion. "In my line of work, you learn to function through pain. It is not about being tough. It is about being practical." Across the bay, Gorith had been listening. "You are an unusual creature, human." "Torres. My name is David Torres." "David Torres," Gorith repeated carefully. "You fought well. Better than any opponent I have faced. You are not easy either. That armor of yours saved you from some hits that would have done serious damage. It is ceremonial armor, designed to honor tradition. I never thought I would need its protection against a smaller opponent." Gorith managed a sound that might have been Kravic laughter. "I underestimated you. I underestimated your entire species. You and everyone else in this galaxy, apparently." Ambassador Green entered the medical bay, her expression a mixture of relief and exasperation. "Sergeant Torres, you have started a political firestorm. Half the Galactic Council wants to commend you. The other half wants to sanction you for disrupting established protocols. Which half is winning? The half that watched you beat a Kravic commander is currently very interested in what else humans can do." She pulled up a datapad. "I have received inquiries from 17 species asking about military training partnerships. 9 species want to establish defense agreements. And 3 species have quietly asked if we would be interested in selling Marine Corps training programs. Torres raised an eyebrow. Selling training programs? The galaxy just watched a human half-Gorith his size defeat the most feared warrior race through superior tactics and endurance. Everyone wants to know how we do it. Green sat down, suddenly looking tired. They spent centuries building hierarchies based on submission to whoever seemed strongest. You just showed them that strength is not the only factor that matters. That was not my goal, but that is the result. For better or worse, you have changed how the galaxy views humanity. From his bed, Gorith spoke up. Ambassador Green, may I ask a question? Of course, Commander. When David Torres extended his hand to help me rise, what did that gesture mean in human culture? Was it mockery? Dominance display? Green glanced at Torres, who remained quiet. No, Commander. It was an offer of respect. In human culture, when you help a fallen opponent up, you are acknowledging that they fought well, that the competition is over, but the mutual respect remains. This is very different from Kravic tradition. Yes, we have different traditions, different values. That is what makes this galaxy interesting, is it not? Learning from each other. Gorith considered this. Perhaps. I must admit, I did not expect to respect humans when I arrived at Station Harmony. I expected to dominate you, force your compliance, add another species to those who bow before Kravic strength. And now, Torres asked, now I think my people need to reconsider our approach to diplomacy. If we treat every new species as an enemy to be conquered, we will eventually encounter something we cannot defeat. Perhaps it is wiser to seek allies rather than vassals. The Peltharian doctor chittered in surprise. Commander Gorith, are you suggesting the Kravic Empire might change its policies? I am suggesting that I have learned something today. Whether my people choose to learn the same lesson remains to be seen. A chime from Green's datapad drew her attention. Her expression shifted to concern. Sergeant, Commander, we have a situation developing. The Galactic Council's Military Advisory Board is requesting an emergency meeting. There has been an incident at the edge of Council space. What kind of incident? Torres asked, immediately alert despite his injuries. An attack. Unknown aggressors. 3 colony worlds have gone silent in the past 6 hours. Military response teams sent to investigate have not reported back. Gorith tried to sit up, failed, grimaced. Which colonies? Peltharian, Velrani, and 1 Kravic outpost. The Kravic do not lose outposts without significant resistance. Our border stations are heavily fortified. The last transmission from the station mentioned something about biological warfare, creatures that consume everything in their path. Green looked up from her pad. They're calling them the Vexnor Swarm. Torres and Gorith exchanged glances. Experienced warriors both, they recognized the implications immediately. The galaxy, comfortable in its structured hierarchies and ceremonial conflicts, was about to face something that did not care about tradition or honor or diplomatic solutions. How soon can I get out of this medical bay? Torres asked the doctor. Several days, at minimum. You need time to heal. That is not what I asked. How soon can I function well enough to fight if needed? The Peltharian doctor's whiskers twitched in distress. You cannot be serious. You just survived brutal combat. Your body needs rest. My body needs to be ready for whatever is coming. Because if this swarm thing is as bad as it sounds, rest is going to be a luxury nobody can afford. Gorith spoke up. Ambassador Green, I would like to request something unusual. When I am cleared for duty, I wish to coordinate with Sergeant Torres on military planning for this threat. Green blinked. You want to work with the human who just defeated you? I want to work with the warrior who showed me that there are different ways to fight. If we face an enemy that does not honor our traditions, perhaps we need allies who understand practical combat rather than ceremonial warfare. I will relay your request to both our governments. As Green left to coordinate with various officials, Torres carefully laid back on his bed, finally acknowledging his need for rest. Gorith, can I ask you something? Yes. When you came to Station Harmony, you were ready to threaten Earth into submission. You had your fleet, your reputation, your confidence. What changed your mind? Just losing one fight. Gorth was quiet for a moment. It was not losing. It was how I lost. You could have humiliated me, killed me, broken me completely. Instead, you offered respect. You showed me that victory without honor is hollow, but also that honor without wisdom is foolish. He paused. Also, your Dr. Tanaka explained to several species what Earth is truly like. Class 12 Deathworld. I did not know such places existed. They exist. We came from one. Yes. And you survived it, thrived in it, became the dominant species despite competing with creatures that should have destroyed you. That takes something beyond strength. It takes adaptability, intelligence, refusal to quit. Gorth managed to turn his head to look at Torres directly. My people value strength. We conquer through power. But you showed me today that there is strength in endurance too. Strength in choosing when to fight and when to show mercy. Strength in standing up despite pain and fear and overwhelming odds. Torres smiled slightly. You know what the funny thing is? That is just standard Marine Corps training. Every human in our military learns these things. We're not special. We are just stubborn. If all humans are like you, then your species will do well in this galaxy. We will see. This swarm thing sounds like trouble. Yes, real trouble. Not ceremonial combat or diplomatic posturing, but actual survival threat. Well, Torres closed his eyes, finally accepting the need for rest. Then I guess it's a good thing humans are really good at surviving, is it not? In the observation areas of Station Harmony, the galaxy's representatives continued their debates and discussions about what they had witnessed. But in the medical bay, two warriors from vastly different cultures had found common ground. 3 months had passed since the challenge. The joint training facility orbited a neutral moon on the edge of Galactic Council space, its design a compromise between human functionality and Kravic grandeur. Inside the main combat hall, two very different warrior traditions were learning to work together. Torres moved between training stations, observing mixed squads of humans and Kravic running through combat scenarios. The sight would have been impossible to imagine 4 months ago. Massive 8-foot Kravic warriors taking instruction from human marines barely half their size. Human soldiers learning Kravic strength techniques. Two species that had nearly gone to war now sharing tactics and strategies. They're improving, Gorth commented, joining Torres at the observation rail. The Kravic commander had healed from his injuries and now walked without the slight limp that had plagued him for weeks after their fight. Slowly. Your people are still too focused on direct confrontation. My people keep trying to overthink when sometimes you just need to hit hard. Perhaps together we find balance between thought and action. Maybe. Torres watched a mixed squad successfully complete an urban warfare simulation. How are your superiors handling this? I know the traditional Kravic military command was not thrilled about partnership with humans. Gorth made a rumbling sound that Torres had learned to interpret as Kravic amusement. They were resistant. Then the Vexnor swarm consumed 2 more colonies, including one of our fortress worlds. Suddenly, cooperation with Deathworld survivors seemed less offensive to their sensibilities. Fear is a good motivator. Indeed, and you humans are proving effective at teaching tactics our people never considered. Asymmetric warfare. Guerrilla operations, fighting to survive rather than fighting to dominate. Alert sirens cut through the facility. Every soldier, human and Kravic alike, immediately dropped their training and moved toward their assigned combat stations. Months of joint exercises had created a coordinated response time that impressed even the skeptical Galactic Council observers. Torres and Gorth reached the command center simultaneously. Ambassador Green was already there, her face grim as she studied tactical displays. The swarm is here, she said without preamble. Forward sensors detected Vexnor bio ships entering this sector 30 minutes ago. They are heading directly for Station Harmony. Force composition, Torres asked, his training taking over. Estimates suggest 300 individual ships, each one carrying thousands of warrior organisms. Traditional defensive tactics have failed against them in every previous engagement. Gorth studied the tactical display. The station's defenses are designed for conventional warfare, energy weapons, shields, strategies built around ship-to-ship combat. The Vexnor do not fight that way. No, Torres agreed. They swarm, overwhelm, consume. You cannot negotiate with them, cannot intimidate them, cannot make them retreat through shows of force. He smiled, but this time it was a warrior's smile, sharp and ready. Which means we need to fight them the way humans learned to fight everything on Earth that wanted to kill us. How? Green asked. By being meaner than they are. By refusing to play by their rules. By making them regret they ever came to this sector. Torres activated his command channel. All units, this is Sergeant Torres. Implement protocol Deathworld. I repeat, implement protocol Deathworld. Around the facility, human Marines began preparing equipment that had confused their Kravic counterparts during training. Improvised explosives, traps designed around predicted enemy movement patterns, weapons cobbled together from materials the swarm would not expect. It was not elegant. It was not ceremonial. It was human survival tactics refined through millions of years of being the underdog that refused to die. Gorith watched the preparations. Your people truly do fight differently than anyone else in the galaxy. We fight like we are from Earth, where everything wants to kill you, so you learn to kill back harder. The trip to Station Harmony took 4 hours. The joint force, 24 human Marines and 40 Kravic warriors, arrived to find the station's outer defenses already under assault. Vexnor bio ships attached themselves to the hull like parasites, cutting through armor with organic acids while thousands of warrior organisms poured inside. The station's conventional security forces were being overwhelmed. The Vexnor simply did not care about casualties. For every 10 killed, 20 more pushed forward. They felt no fear, showed no mercy, existed only to consume and expand. This is it, Torres said to his combined squad. Everything we trained for. Remember, these things are animals. Very dangerous animals, but still animals. And humans have been killing dangerous animals since before we invented fire. What's the plan? Brack, Gorith's second-in-command, asked. We do not defend. We hunt. We split into mixed teams. Humans lead tactics. Kravic provide heavy firepower. We hit them in ways they do not expect, then fade before they can swarm our positions. We make this station hell for them. Sergeant Torres is correct, Gorith added. Traditional stand and fight tactics have failed. We must adapt. We must think like predators, not warriors. The battle for Station Harmony lasted 16 hours. In that time, the joint human-Kravic teams proved what many species had refused to believe. The Vexnor swarm could be beaten, not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through tactics, adaptation, and sheer stubborn refusal to quit. Torres led his team through maintenance tunnels, using the station's infrastructure against the swarm. Ambushes at choke points. Traps that turned the swarm's own momentum against them. Fighting dirty, fighting smart, fighting to survive rather than fighting for glory. Gorith learned to trust the human tactical thinking, even when it contradicted everything his training had taught him. When Torres said to retreat, they retreated. When he said to hold position despite terrible odds, they held. The partnership, forged in mutual respect 3 months ago, now proved itself in actual combat. When the last Vexnor organism was finally eliminated, the station was heavily damaged but intact. Casualty rates were lower than any previous engagement with the swarm, and the galaxy's military observers had recorded every moment. Torres and Gorith stood in the station's damage command center, both exhausted, both injured again, both alive. Your tactics worked, Gorith said simply. Our tactics worked. Kravic strength combined with human adaptability. Neither one alone would have been enough. Ambassador Green appeared, looking relieved. The Galactic Council is calling this a decisive victory. They want to expand the joint training program, integrate human and Kravic tactics into a new defensive strategy for all Council worlds. Good, Torres said, because the swarm is not going to stop. This was just one fleet. We need to prepare for the real fight. But we proved we can win, Green pointed out. We proved we can survive, Torres corrected. Winning comes later. Right now, We teach the rest of the galaxy what humans and Kravik learn together. That sometimes you need to fight ugly to fight effectively. That honor means protecting what matters, not following outdated rules. That being the strongest is less important than being the last one standing. Gorith placed a massive hand on Torres' shoulder, a gesture of respect and partnership. When you smiled at my final warning, I thought you were foolish or insane. Now I understand. You were smiling because you knew something I did not. What did I know? That humans do not fear warnings. You have survived a planet that tried to kill you every day of your evolution. One alien warrior making threats? That was just another challenge to overcome. Torres smiled again, that same confident expression that had started everything. Pretty much, yeah. I am grateful our species chose alliance over warfare. So am I, Commander. So am I. As they walked through the damaged station toward the medical bay, Torres reflected on how much had changed. 3 months ago, he was a Marine protecting Earth's interests. Now he was part of something bigger, a bridge between species, a teacher showing the galaxy that there were different ways to be strong. Behind them, human and Kravik soldiers worked together to secure the station and help the wounded. Two warrior cultures, forged in very different fires, now united by mutual respect and common purpose. The galaxy would never see humanity as weak again, and the Kravik would never again assume that strength came only in physical form. Sometimes the best warriors were not the biggest or the strongest. Sometimes the best warriors were the ones who simply refused to quit, no matter what the universe threw at them. And Earth had spent millions of years producing exactly that kind of warrior.